Today we'll be studying metric system basics. So with the metric system is based on a base unit that corresponds to a certain kind of measurement. So when we're measuring length, we will always use meters. When we're measuring volume, we will always use liters. And when we measure weight or mass, we will always use the word gram. Prefixes plus the base unit make up the metric system. For example, centi and meter together is centimeter. Kilo and liter together is kiloliter or kiloliter. And then you can apply those to all of the different prefixes that you're going to be learning in a few minutes. So the metric system has three prefixes that we will use the most: kilo, centi, and milli. So kilo is located here, followed by hecto, deca with a C, so deca with a C. The base units, the ones that we're, like I said, the ones that we use for our meter, gram, and liters for length, mass, and then volume. Deci, centi, and milli. So again, these are your key ones that we'll be using all the time. The prefixes, but you need to be responsible for knowing that these are there. And in one second, I'll show you an easy way to remember the order for these prefixes. So again, kilo, hecto, deca. Base units meaning meter, gram, and liter is another one that we'll always use. Deci, centi, and milli. So to remember the prefixes in order, you can use the following sentence. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. So again, king for kilo, Henry for hecto, doesn't, deca. This is spelled with a K this time, you can do it either way. Unit is usually drink, deci, chocolate, centi, and milk, milli. So again, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. So that's the way to remember from order from big to small on the prefixes. I'm going to clear out this ink. All right, so the next one is in the metric system, the prefixes are based on powers of 10. They're very important. And it's going to make your life so easy when you learn the metric system because everything's a base 10. So what does this mean? This means for every prefix, every step is either 10 times larger or 10 times smaller. Again, very important. Every step you take on the steps here, it's either 10 times larger or 10 times smaller than the one below it or in front of it. For example, centimeters. We have centimeters right here. Centimeters are 10 times bigger than millimeters. So when we move this direction, and we'll get to that slide in a second, when we move this direction, you are multiplying. When we move the other direction, we're dividing. All right, so let's, and again, you don't have to write that twice because you wrote it on the last slide, it's fine. Let me clear this out and go to the next page. Okay, so in the metric system, this is a picture of a zoomed-in ruler. The centimeters are the big numbers that are written, and then the millimeters are the numbers that are in between, those little teeny dash. And there's 10 of those millimeters inside of every centimeter. So 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. You don't have to memorize that, but you should know that everything's in base 10. So here's a picture of a zoomed-in ruler. Okay, so this is again where we need to start taking some notes. For each step to the right, so we move to the right, we are multiplying by 10. So for example, let's go from a base unit to a centimeter. So if we're starting here and we move to a centimeter, so 1, 2, we're going 2 steps over, you're multiplying 10 each time. So times 10 times 10. So if we have 1 meter and we want to know how to get to centimeters, well, 1 times 10 is 10, times 10 again is 100, and that's how many centimeters are in a meter. So if we move to the right, no matter where you are in the system, you multiply by 10 every step, every ring of the ladder you take is times 10, times 10, times 10. Okay? So again, the key step is moving to the right, you multiply by 10. Sorry, we're going to keep going. And let's see here. And back on the flip side, if we move to the left, you're going to be dividing by 10. So make sure you write that down. I don't have it on the slide. I might come later. But if you move to the left, so this is to the right, you multiply. Move to the left, you divide. Divide by 10 every step you take going left. Okay, the next part is an easier way rather than saying, oh, multiply 10, multiply 10, multiply 10, multiply 10. An easier way to do it, and the way you'll see me doing it in class, is to simply moving the decimal. So an easy way to do that is to move the desired decimal to where you want it to go. So again, back to my same meter to centimeter example. If I have 2 meters and I want to know how many centimeters that is, every ring I move is a decimal place. So decimal place 1, decimal place 2. So if my number was 2 meters, and my decimal place after a whole number is always on the right, correct? 2 is a decimal place there. Move it 2 places, 1, 2, and then put in your appropriate zeros. And you'll see that that gets the same answer as times 10 times 10. So every ring you move it is a decimal place you move to the right. Same thing if you're moving to the left. If you're going this way, if you're dividing by 10, divide by 10, divide by 10, you just move it to the left, that one space every time. All right, so again, this is another, if you move to the left, move to the decimal to the left. If you move to the right, move the decimal to the right. And here's some, another diagram. Move the decimal this way, move the decimal this way, depending on which way you're moving. All right, so now we're going to do centimeters to kilometers, or I say kilometers, you can say kilometers, same thing. So starting at centimeters. So this time, if centimeters is our starting point, and we're going all the way down here, you see that we pass through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places that we move. So if we initially had, if our example was, we had 4. So we have 400,000 centimeters, and we want to know how many kilometers that is. So again, our decimal point is here. So we move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. And that shows you that it equals just 4 kilometers, which is a pretty large distance. So again, moving to the left, you move your decimal to the left. That many places on the rings. Sorry. Clear. There's another example going from meters to kilometers. So if I have 4,000 meters and I go back 1, 2, 3 spaces, then that's 3 places that I move my 0. So 1, 2, 3 ends up being 4 kilometers. We're not going to worry about the second example. We're going to do some more at the very end. All right, so in summary, and again, only write this again if you want to put it in your brain one more time. The base unit in the metric systems are meters, liters, and grams. You have to know that. Meters, liters, grams. You have to know that the metric system is based on powers of 10. And then for the conversions within the metric system, each step is 1 decimal place to the right or the left, depending on if you're going from big to small or small to big. And using the diagram below, I would, for the next couple of days while we're working on this unit, I would definitely record this every single time. And you don't have to write it out. You could just put K, H, D, and I'll put unit here and maybe circle it so it's unit, D, C, M. And I would record that every time you have a problem. And I'll show you why in 1 second. So on my practice examples, I've got just a couple. We're not going to do all of them. We're just going to do a few. So again, King Henry died unusually, or drinks unusually, usually chocolate milk. So King Henry drinks usually chocolate. Oh, sorry. King Henry does usually drink chocolate milk. Sorry about that. So don't forget the D in there. So this is my basic every time. So if I'm starting at, let's do the number 2. If I'm starting at milliliters, so I go over here to milli, because milli is my prefix. If I start at milliliters, and I move over to liters, so put your decimal after the milliliters, which is where it goes. So milli goes 1, 2, 3 places. So I go over here, so I had 4 milliliters, and I moved it to the left 3 places. So I did the same thing here. 1, 2, 3. My decimal goes there, and I fill in those loops with zeros. So my final answer is 4 milliliters equals 4 thousandths of a whole liter. Let's go down to number 3. 8 grams equals how many milligrams? So 8 grams. So I'm going to draw my, another color, KHDUDCM. And this time we're starting on grams, which is our unit. So so I start right here, and I'm going to milligrams. So 1, 2, 3, 4, because the decimal goes after the unit. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So my decimal's here, 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So my answer is 8,000 milligrams equals 8 grams. Okay? And let's do one more problem. Let's do kilograms to grams. So again, I'm going to do King Henry does usually drink chocolate milk. And my decimal, we're doing this one, is on the kilogram. So my decimal's here. And I'm going to move it all the way to the grams, which is my unit, or usually. So 1, 2, 3 places. So to do the same thing here. So 6, 1, 2, 3 places. Fill in with zeros. So my answer will be 6,000 grams. I feel like I want to do one more. Let's go back to number 1. So number 1, 5 decimeters equals how many meters? So I'm going to go draw a line. So King Henry does usually drink chocolate milk. And my decimal is on the decimeter. So right here. This is deca, this is deci. And I'm going to meters. So that's my unit this way. So 1. I'm only going one place. So that means over here, where my 5 has a decimal on the end, move it one place to the left since I moved this one to the left. So my answer is 0.5 meters is 5 decimeters. And there's a couple more if you want to practice those, but otherwise we'll continue in class tomorrow talking about the metric system and getting into ratios.